Welcome to College and Career Readiness, a whole new world. We are very excited to be with you this morning. We thought of this panel about 2 years ago, and we finally got it to South by Southwest EDU, and we're very excited to be presenting it to you this morning. We hope that we have some great ideas to share, and we'll be looking forward to your input throughout the process to get some ideas as well. Okay, let's see who you're going to be talking to this morning. We'll start with myself. My name is Laura Hayes, and I am the Chief Academic Officer at Edison Learning. I'm a 30-year veteran educator. I have experience as a teacher, a principal, a superintendent. I work for the Texas Education Agency. I've been in public schools. I've worked for schools of choice, charter schools, nonprofit, and corporate education. So a little bit across the whole spectrum. I'm a trustee for the Head Start Board of Directors and the Dallas Children's Theater. I'm a founder of a nonprofit, Bridge to Tomorrow, and I'm a published author and a brand new patent holder. I'm really excited about that. To my left, we have Mr. Nicholas Cobb. Nicholas is a junior here in Austin at the University of Texas in Austin. He is a computer science student. He was named a standout student. He's a founding member of the Association of Black Computer Scientists. He serves as webmaster for a number of organizations. He's a Google intern. Entering the University of Texas, he received over $700,000 in scholarships, including the Coca-Cola Scholarship, the Prudential Scholarship, Best Buy, the Christopher Reeves, and Urban League Scholarship. Nicholas was a recipient of the Nickelodeon Halo Award and the Caring Institute Award. He's been named a Young Futurist by the Root magazine, and he is the founder and CEO of his own nonprofit, Comfort and Joy. To Nicholas's left, we have Mr. Jason Falk. Jason is the Dean of Admissions at Longwood University. He's a former advanced placement teacher. He's a former recruiter with Teach for America. He's a former Road to College counselor for Uplift Education, and he rapidly advanced from admission counselor to director of undergraduate admissions at the University of North Texas in Dallas before becoming a dean at Longwood University. Mr. Jason. And to Jason's left, we have Ms. Marla White. Marla is the Finance and Operations Global Rotation Manager at Texas Instruments. She holds a BS degree in Electrical Engineering, an MBA and an MS in Organizational Behavior and Executive Coaching. She has over 20 years experience in engineering and business. She's the former chair of Texas Instruments Black Employee Initiative and the former chair of Texas Instruments Women's Initiative. So that's who's who. That's our panel. So let's get started with some questions, and I'll start with our student. Nicholas, tell us about your high school experience.
Well, I went to a very competitive and challenging high school, and I feel that's really been able to help shape my academic experience. It's helped me to, understand how to work hard. It's helped me transition well to college. So that was my high school experience.
What were your top priorities going into college?
Well, my top priorities going into college were adjusting to the, very heavy changing workload that occurs between high school and college. Getting myself an internship and finding some organization so I could do something outside of academia.
Do you feel like you were ready for college?
I do feel like I was ready for college. I was very fortunate to have parents that helped me guide me along the way through high school, helping me to learn how to be prepared for college, learning how to do academia properly. So yes, I certainly feel I was very prepared for college.
Awesome. Jason, as an admissions counselor, a dean of admissions,
It's all the same.
what are your top priorities?
My top priorities is for my role as dean is to really look at what we offer students and the relationship of student success programming, academic programming, but also the fun side of college, which I think sometimes we forget that college should be fun as well. And to grow enrollment using those tools that I currently have on campus and make sure that I make connections between what we are recruiting and also what students will do after they graduate from the college as well.
Tell us about the students you received.
At Longwood University, we really do a great job of recruiting students that come from very diverse experiences. The average is about 3.25 to 3.49 GPA. Average SAT score is 1100 and the average ACT score is 21. But what I'm also finding is that our students are coming with, they work part-time and full-time jobs, being 17 and 18-year-old students, and they're involved in, on average, 6 different activities when they're in high school. So they're really doing a great job of being strong academically, but also being strong socially as well. So when they get to Longwood, they want to know not only what programs can I get involved in, but how many organizations can I be involved in at one time.
Do you feel like they're ready? Are they ready for college?
That's such a two-ended question. Socially, I think they are ready for college. They know how to manage being in many different clubs and activities. They know how to really network and use Snapchat, social media, and Twitter to really build their own brand, which is weird to say that a student has their own brand. When you look down to math, algebra, and different classes like that, I think there's some work that can be done in partnering with the K-12 to make sure that the concepts that we want them to really expand on when they get to college are really hit on a little bit more. But all in all, they know how to get to where they need to go. They know how to use the student services, they know how to ask questions, and they're not afraid to say, I don't understand, can you help me? So I think that really helps make sure that they are college ready because they know how to ask those questions.
What do you think are some of the strengths and weaknesses you see in your students?
Technology. I'm 35 and I don't know how to use Snapchat. And they's like, oh, are you not on Snapchat? Can I talk to you via Snapchat? And I was like, I don't know how to use Snapchat. So they definitely understand technology and the use and how to use it to get, this sounds bad, get to what they need. They want to be able to reach professors using Twitter and Facebook now, not just only email. We did a trial run at my current college, and what we found out is that for an email response, a student will respond in about 7 to 10 days. A Twitter response, 5 seconds. So we're doing a better job of actually talking with students via Twitter and texting, and not only from the prospect side, but also when they actually become enrolled at the institution as well. We still use Twitter and texting to really help them to understand all of the resources that are available to them.
Okay, Ms. Marlon, would you tell us about the rotation program that you manage?
So a lot of companies now are introducing what we call a skills development rotation program or a manager and training type of program. And the program that I manage, Access, is helping individuals develop the skills that we believe are vital for them to be successful in our organization. It is a rotation program that's 3 years in which students or our new college grads do a 1-year rotation. They can choose which track that they want to do. They can choose to be a specialist, and they may do all of their rotations in one functional area, such as finance or accounting or operations, or they can choose to be a generalist, and they would do all 3 of their rotations in each of those various functions. We're headquartered in Dallas, and so most of the rotations are done in the Dallas area. However, we do offer rotations outside of the Dallas area as well, but they're very limited, and I always tell my college grads that they are based on strong performance in your role.
So what are some of the top priorities for the students that you're looking to recruit into your program?
So academic achievement is definitely something that's very important. We recruit students that have a GPA of greater than a 3.0. But beyond being technically sound, we're looking for students that have been involved in campus. Have they taken on leadership roles in various organizations? Can they get along with others? The workforce is becoming more and more collaborative, and you can't really achieve success by yourself. So it's really important that students have that experiential learning and different things like that so that they can begin to develop and be more collaborative when they enter the workforce.
What are your top priorities for your students? What are you hoping to accomplish?
What am I hoping to accomplish with the program? Well, I think that it's really important that people figure out what they are created to do, what they love to do. And I do believe that as they enter corporate America, the program that I manage helps them figure that out. Whether they find out that, you know what, this really isn't for me, I'm not the right fit, or whether they find out that, yeah, I want to be the great finance person, I see myself as being a finance leader within the organization. So with the program, that gives them the opportunity to figure that out. I was a career changer, so I started out my career when I went into engineering because that's what my daddy told me that I was supposed to do. And I found out that I wasn't going to be great at that I was good, but I was always going to be average, which is one of the things that really drove me to changing my career. And I entered Texas Instruments on a career development rotation program, and it was really instrumental for me to figure out what did I want to do with my career.
Marla, do you feel that the students you receive, are they ready? Are they ready to launch their career?
It's really interesting, your feedback that you were giving about students in technology. Because they're so great at the Twitter and the Snapchat, whatever else is out there on social media, we find that it's been really interesting for me to see how the generations play out in the workplace. You have the people such as myself, the Gen Xers, that we understand the email, and I remember entering the workforce and computers were barely entering the workforce as I was coming in, and so I'm used to the email, and I know the generations before me are used to that, and complete sentences within the email, not going to laugh out loud. So it's really interesting to see that play out in the workplace. I would say that students that we're getting, they are technically sound they understand the finance, the operations, and the accounting aspect of it. Where I see a gap is in those social skills and in the soft skills. From an understanding of how do they navigate the political landscape or the business savvy of being in a corporate world.
Thank you. Let's go back to Nicholas to talk about career readiness a little bit. You mentioned your internship earlier. Tell us about your college experience, how you're finding things at UT, and tell us about your internship experience as well.
Well, all right, for my intern experiences at Google, I interned at Google 2 times already, and I guess how that kind of ties into my college experience. From the summer between my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, I participated in this Google program called the Google Computer Science Summer Institute, and it is for the underrepresented communities for people who are going into CS. So I participated in that program, and then some of the people in the program recommended that I apply for a Google internship, which is what I did my freshman year. And of course I got into that. I did the engineering practicum internship between the summer of my freshman and sophomore year. And then I did so well in that internship, I got promoted next year to the software engineering internship between my sophomore and junior year. And I'm about to intern one more time with Google between my junior and senior year this summer.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your college experience? How are you finding things at UT?
Oh, certainly. I'm finding things, pretty good at UT. I find myself well-rounded in a number of organizations, as already mentioned. I'm doing pretty good in academia. I find my experience very good, and especially since I have myself some internships, I can't say it's going really well.
Do you feel like you're ready to launch your career?
Well, since I've done 2 internships at Google and I'm about to do another one, I feel I definitely will be able to make the transition to a full-time position at Google.
So you talk a lot about your interest in computer science and your internships and so forth. How did you get interested in computer science to start with?
Well, from a very young age, my dad was into programming, so I guess I kind of learned a little bit about that. And then I did some summer programs like the IU Tech Camp, that was a game development summer camp UT even. I did my intro to engineering camp in high school, and I also did 3 years of computer science classes at high school. So I definitely had a very strong computer science background throughout my life.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask something to each one of the panel members, and we do have quite a few Slido questions coming in, so don't despair. I'm going to get to those momentarily. We'll get those answered. But to each one of the panel members, and anybody can jump in first, what can educators, or can we educators, K-12 schools, colleges, and universities do differently to prepare, or in addition, to prepare students for college and career readiness? So anybody can jump in.
Well, for me, what I feel helped me transition from high school to college the best were these various summer programs I participated in. You know, the ID Tech Camp, my Intro to Engineering, and the Google Computer Science Summer Institute. I feel that having summer programs available provides a powerful medium for students to be able to, you know, understand what they're into and get a head start on learning what they're into.
And I would just add that we need to have real, honest talks with students and families, but also from the higher ed side, we have to connect really what the workforce wants. So I think there is a misconception that we want people to be biology majors, nursing, the typical top 5 programs. But we have to do a better job at connecting the conversation to what will we need 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and 20 years from now, and make sure that we have academic programs that support that the students who are graduating, they have the skill sets that they need to go off and be successful in whatever those programs are. We know technology is a growing field, but if you look at the scope of college campuses, there's still very little technology-based programming. One thing that we've started at Longwood University is that we actually have a program for those students who not only want to do things in technology, but also things specifically on social, Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter. So you can merge that into your academic program. So maybe you're a nurse, but one of your jobs as being a nurse is how to connect with patients in the community using platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. So really making sure that we're aligning with what our graduates will be doing, because technology is changing what we will do and how we're able to reach people in the community.
One of the things that I will say is that people love to talk about what they do. And I love to show people my company. And when I'm out there recruiting students on college campuses, when a teacher comes to me and says, hey, I would love for you to come talk to my classroom, maybe you can do a case study and talk about how that's relating to what I'm teaching in my curriculum. Absolutely, would love to do that. When people say, we would love to come to your, we would like to bring a group of students on your site to have them visit the manufacturing facility or visit what is the latest, greatest thing you guys are doing in technology. We'd love to have visitors come to our campus as well. And we believe that that's a really good way of introducing students to what they're learning in classroom to what is actually happening in the real world.
So we have quite a few questions. I'm going to jump into some of the audience questions. And anybody can feel free to respond. First question, what can we do to better help students figure out what they like to do, what they're good at, and what they should pursue as a career? And when should this happen?
From birth. But we have to change the conversation. Instead of asking students, well, when they come to a college fair, well, what would you like to major in, which is a standard conversation. I've really empowered my staff to change that conversation and say, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? And maybe you are being an astronaut who likes to tweet. I go to Twitter a lot. We need to make sure that we have some connections to make sure that's possible. Or we now have opportunities for students to really get more infused into the community. So really understanding what students want to do and not pushing students into a program just because your dad may have been a programmer or your mom may have been a nurse. It's asking what do you want to do and really empowering them to own their future and own what they want to be successful in. Success doesn't look the same for everyone, and we have to encourage and embrace that.
I would say to expose your students to different things that are available. Like I said, I went into engineering because that's what my dad said that I was supposed to do. I found out that it was a great career from a pay perspective, but it wasn't something that I got up every day saying that this is what I want to do. Today I can honestly say that because I really get an opportunity and help people figure out what they're created to do and build their lives around that. But I didn't know that that was even a career choice. I was never exposed to that that's something that you could do. So I would say expose your students to as much as possible. And I think that as they're exposed to those things, they will navigate to that thing that innately gives them passion about it.
Next question. College readiness and career readiness are related, but they require different skills. How do we get students career ready beyond the standard internship and apprentice?
That is a great question. College readiness and career readiness, they share some concepts there. One is the ability to read and write. I think regardless of where you go and what you do, the ability to read and write is really important. And what we're seeing on the college side is that students are needing more and more help in understanding what is a formal sentence, how to write an email. And like we spoke earlier, everything is now a tweet. We have more than 140 characters. So use those 140 characters to really say something meaningful. Because if you're college readiness, that means that you've had some experience probably in the K-12 side or going to a special program in the summer. It could have been a camp. It could have been playing sports. It could have been something else that connected your strengths and helped you understand what your strengths are. So when you got to college, you understood that, oh, I don't want to be a nurse. One, because I don't like blood. You probably shouldn't be a nurse if you don't like blood. But then also because I'm not as strong in math or science, because my passion is more working in the community and something that's more hands-on. So really help me connect those dots. I think there are some parallels that fall between college readiness and career readiness as well.
So I talked about one of the gaps that I see is on the soft side. I'm also seeing that gap close a little bit more when I'm dealing with students that are not first generational. And so being a first generational, I can attest to what that's like. I didn't have conversations with my dad of how to navigate the corporate arena, where I see as some of those students that their dads or moms may have gone that corporate, been in that, may have been able to coach them in that. So I would say that with students, to get them ready, they need exposure to what that is like and navigating that corporate landscape. You can do that by maybe partnering with some local companies and having mentors. I know that at TI we have several diversity initiatives that go out and mentor students at colleges or on a high school level, because it gives them a different exposure to the corporate arena, and I think that will help them beyond the classroom get prepared for navigating the corporate world.
Piggybacking on that, Marla, Nicholas, you mentioned to me a program that you were involved in, a mentor matcher.
Yes, that's right. When I was around the end of middle school, I did participate in this mentor matcher program. So I would go to various companies, shadow some people who were working there. I really got to see the inside of these companies, how people behave and stuff. So yes, I certainly feel like that's an important way. That's one way I learned how to navigate sort of the system of these different companies and businesses, how to behave properly and whatnot. So definitely programs like that have helped me. So I think that would help a lot of other students as well.
Marla, this next question is for you specifically. It says, Marla, what kind of training does your company provide to address that soft skill gap that you identified?
One of the things that we implemented a few years ago was a program that basically helps with that transition from college to navigating the corporate world. It's a year-long program in which there's a part required curriculum, and then there's also quarterly meetings that they get exposed to senior level leaders that can also share with them their experiences on how did they get to where they are in their career and what were some of the key lessons learned. So I think that the program that we offer is called Make an Impact, is best in class, to be quite honest with you, because I'm not quite sure of how many other companies are doing that type of program. And when I'm out there recruiting on college campuses, that's something that the students have been asking for too. Like, what is your training curriculum? How will I be able to come in and, achieve, or how will I be able to understand what the expectations are and different things like that? And so to be able to say that we do offer this one-year program, that I really feel proud about that.
Next question, what role should GPA play or not play as a goal to mark success in high school and or college? What role should GPA play?
Wow. So I have my own little opinion about that. So I'm on both sides of the coins. I remember entering into the corporate world as a young engineer, and I didn't graduate with a 3.0, quite honestly, and I'm very transparent about that. So I wasn't allowed, a lot of doors weren't open to me. However, I did start off my career at Motorola, and I remember my very first manager telling me that, anybody could really get the 4.0, but what impressed me most about you was that you were well-rounded. You had to work to put yourself through school. I see that you were involved in all these different clubs, and not only were you involved in these different clubs, but you were a leader in these organizations. So I felt like you brought something different to the table. Now that I'm on the other side of the interviewing process, I still have that frame of mind. Now, I do believe that you got to cut the line off somewhere, right? You got to have something that is a qualifier to get people in the door. But if I get a 3.0 versus a 4.0 that has all those different well-rounded experiences, especially those students that are having to work to put themselves through school, in my opinion, I think that says a lot about the student. It builds character, it builds work ethic, it goes beyond just the day-to-day classroom learning.
I definitely agree with her point. These things are multifaceted. How well you'll do at an internship, for instance, is dependent on more things than solely your GPA. Yes, you need to have some cutoff point so you can know, okay, are you working hard? Are you doing what you need to do? But at some point it's like, there's more than just GPA involved. Are you involved in campus organizations? Are you taking leadership roles? These are all important things about how well you'll do in these companies. Because, sometimes how well you do in academia, it requires a different skill set than how well you'll do in a company. So GPA might not always be quite representative of that.
And I would agree on the higher ed side as well. It's encouraging to see that a lot of colleges now are moving towards a well-rounded view when they are recruiting. Now it's not just a GPA, it's not just a test score. It's also what have you been involved in? What was your home life? What do you want to do when you graduate? Because we want students who not only will add to the overall experience of campus, but also they're going to take something away and go out into the community and do something well. And the GPA doesn't always naturally reflect that. So you have to look past the GPA and really look towards that student. And that's where you have to have real honest conversations with their student. We see that you have a 2.98, but tell me something about that 2.98. Why is it a 2.98? A perfect example is that I had a student back when I was teaching who had a 2.98, but what many colleges fail to realize is that he had to work full time to help support his mom and his two younger brothers. And so working 35 hours a week, going to school, and also still been involved in sports as well. A 2.98 is pretty solid.
Jason, this one is specifically for you. Jason, do you believe career advising should be a part of the admissions process to help a prospective student better consider which majors to consider? Do you believe career advising should be a part of the admissions process?
Career advising should be part of the overall process. I don't believe it should be the first conversation that you have with students. I actually prefer students to come into college not having to choose a specific program. And I think that really opens their eyes to other opportunities where they have maybe come from a family where the mom and dad were school teachers. So for them, the only thing they know is that teaching and that's all that they want to be. But when they get to college, they realize there's so many other opportunities out there other than becoming a teacher. So what we encourage is that you can choose a specific program, and we'll help you from the point of making sure you understand what prereqs that you may need if you transfer in, or what are some classes we would like you to have from the K-12 side. But really our larger conversation is ultimately, what do you want to do in 5 years, and do you know all the available opportunities that are there? We purposely make sure that we sometimes name our program something that you may not ever have heard of, and it makes you ask that question, what is that major? And then when we break down exactly what that major is, the student gets excited, like, wow, I didn't know that I could actually major in that in college. And so it changes the conversation to something that's more reflective of what they can be successfully in, and often something that they're more passionate about.
Awesome. And not that being a teacher is not a great thing. Let's see, we have, how can schools not only prepare students to attend college, but also prepare them to finish and actually receive a degree?
So the state is assisting many colleges and universities on making sure that students are college readiness now. We not only receive funds for having what I call cheats in the seats, but we also get funding based on students persisting in the graduation rate as well. So it's encouraging to see a larger conversation is being had about not only the number of students you have, but also the percentage that are graduating as well. As a nation, our college graduation rate is about 52%, which we celebrate because years ago it used to be 48%. So, but it's still, for me, very sad. So I think connecting that pipeline from K-12 all the way to higher ed, and actually scaffolding back, knowing that from a workforce side, these are the skill sets that a student will need to be successful. In college, we need to make sure they have that skill set. From the K-12 side, it needs to feed into what we do in higher ed. So we need to have larger conversations with everyone around the table about the skill set that students need to be successful. And to be honest, students are not graduating because of they can't afford it, but it's also because of the social aspect as well. So making sure that students are being recruited to that best fit. There's about 4,500 colleges around right now, and so trying to make sure that that student chooses that best fit, not because mom went there or dad goes there. And the worst thing I hear is that a mom says, oh, you can go anywhere you like, but I'm only paying tuition here. That really forces that student to choose a university that may not be a best fit for them socially. And socially for me, I grew up on a farm, so going to a smaller college was a greater fit for me. So my college had 3,000 students. That was a perfect size for me. For graduate school, I went to a university that had 27,000 students. I was lost, and it was a struggle for those 2 years. But understanding what that best fit is will really help make sure that that student can be successful.
Douglas, do you feel like you had anything that gave you a leg up going into college that's going to help you with completion?
Yes, I took some various AP classes and dual credit classes in high school. So via those, I was able to not only claim college credit, but I was able to really better get a feel of what college classes would actually be like. So that obviously smoothed the transition from high school to college, which made it less difficult for me to adjust to the workload.
How many hours did you go in with?
54.
Wow.
Actually, this next question is for you. Mr. Cobb,
Yes.
did you begin college knowing what you wanted to major in and what career path you were considering, and has that changed?
Yes and no. I knew I was going to do computer science going into college, but for a while I was actually interested in game development. But ever since I've been in college and I've started understanding some more of the nuances of computer science and various fields, I've since changed my mind. I'm more interested in front-end web development, which is like the graphics of web design and stuff. So I'm still in computer science, but I've just chosen a different subfield of it, I guess.
Next question, what are some of the things that we can do in higher ed to retain students who are having a challenging time adjusting to college life, both socially and academically? What can we do to retain students?
I guess that's the question for me. But I'm sure you guys can jump in here. I think what we can do is make sure that students are in an environment that is supportive. So when you have a group of students that you know are coming from a similar background, you can kind of group them together and you can form a living, learning community, and that supports them not only when they're going to classes, but also outside of the classroom as well. Making sure they live together in a certain group, making sure sometimes that there's intentional conversations that we're forcing them to have. We also like to have students communicate via Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat prior to them coming on campus. So when they get to campus that first day, and they're not there just alone. They may be on their phone, but they're tweeting the next person sitting next to them. As long as they're sitting together, we're happy we've accomplished something. So really making sure that we force them to have intentional conversations. Something that we're also doing as well is that based on your academic program, we actually, with the core classes, we group you together based on your academic program in your core classes as well. So all the science majors that we have, biology, chemical science, they will be in the same core class as well, even though in their junior year they may branch off into their own programs, but they have a foundation the first 2 years that they can always go back to that friend, that peer, and say, hey, I need help adjusting to X, Y, Z. They know somewhere they can go and be successful and make sure that they are being supported.
Personally, I feel that one of the best ways to adjust to campus life, whether it's a big campus or a small campus, is to find yourself, an organization or a few organizations that you're interested in, even if it's outside your major, because that'll help you really find a community of, sort of like-minded people, and you'll be able to spend your time doing things that you're into. And, studies have actually proven that people who join with college organizations do end up happier than those who don't. So I'm definitely a staunch believer in that.
Awesome. Next question. How do we reach out to the 6 million 16 to 24-year-olds out of school and out of work and get them career ready when traditional education paths won't suffice? And I'll let the panel think about that for just a second, but I'd like to offer a couple of thoughts on that as well. The organization that I work for, we specialize in dropout prevention and dropout recovery. And one of the things that we find that's really helpful on recruiting students, helping students stay enrolled, increasing attendance and all those kinds of things, is offering credentialing services. So for those students that it's difficult for them to think that long term and they need something that's more right in front of them, and also because there are needs there. Many of the students are parenting or they're helping to support their family. They need to make money and they need to know that there's going to be something when they complete that high school education that they can go to work in immediately. So we always make sure that we have credentialing programs. We know that STEM education is huge. We know that people are living longer, and so we have more ailments and illnesses. So the medical professions, that's not going away. One of the favorite programs that our students choose is phlebotomy. So we offer courses like that and other credentialing programs that they can get involved in so that they can go to work right away, and they can see right at the end of the tunnel something that they can work on. I'll turn it over to other panel members if you have any thoughts about that.
And I guess along the same line, what you spoke of, connecting the pipeline between community colleges and making sure that those kind of programs from the community college can translate into programs at the four-year college as well. And also we have to, on the higher ed side, we know we have great programs and sometimes we don't want to transfer in credits, but making sure that the transferability of credits is a seamless and easy process for those students who may start out at the community college. And as we know, more students are graduating and going to a 2-year first before transferring over to a college. We have to make sure that the transferability of those courses is smooth. One, if we do not, it sends the sign to that student, well, I just spent $15,000 on getting this 2-year program and now I can't transfer it, so I lost 2 years. And so we have to make sure that, again, we are supporting that student regardless of what path they take to get to your college. That make sure that pathway is smooth and that there's a nice transition plan from point A to point B.
What are your thoughts on the gap year? Taking time off to think about the future, perhaps realizing that they're not ready for a college experience.
I'm a mother of a millennial. That was really tough for me, to be quite honest with you. My dad was one that always said that each generation makes it better than the first one. He said, I got a job, you get a career, and your son will own a business or whatever that looks like. And so I put a lot of pressure on my son. I'm an engineer, you will do this. And what I was finding is that he was like, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to do what you do. When I used to take him to bring your sons and daughters to bed, I don't want to do what you do. That looked boring. Are you kidding me? And so, when he graduated, I wanted him to go, I was ready for him to go to college, and he just wasn't ready. He was not ready. And I was that mother that my money is going here. And it was a waste of money because he didn't do well. And so I had to take a step back and figure out, he had to figure out what did he really want to do and take my money away and all this manipulation and let him figure it out. And I will tell you now, he's doing something that I'm completely like, whoa, is this my child? Because we had a come to Jesus moment, and for you parents out there, you probably know what that come to Jesus moment is like. It was a choice. You can't stay here and do that in my home, or you will go to the military. Surely he's not going to choose that option, right? Or you can go out and live and do your own thing. He chose the military option, and he came home and said, hey, give me my birth certificate and my social security card, and this is what I'm going to do. And so now he is serving in the National Guard Army, and he is going to school to be a nurse. And so I say all that dirty laundry to say is that as you're dealing with students, you have to let them figure it out and not put all this peer pressure of this is what success looks like for me. Because what I'm finding is now that he's figured out, he's thriving. I mean, he's the kid that's sitting in the front of the classroom and he's answering all these questions, probably because he's paying for it now. But I think having that different conversation with him and saying, hey, you got to figure this thing out for you. What do you like to do, and what do you, and letting them take that time off to figure out what he really wanted to do has been more beneficial than me saying this is what you want to do.
I'm going to do one more question for each of our panelists, and then we're going to try to see if we can get some people to come up to the microphone, because we said this was going to be a conversation, and see if you have ideas that you want to share. We've gotten a lot of questions here, but not different ideas that you'd like to share with the group as well. And so let's see, Jason, it asks, what boundaries do you suggest when reaching out to students via social media? This person says, I work in higher education, and usually there are strict policies in place.
That is true. There are strict policies that are in place, not only from your specific institution, but it also may be from the state as well. I know there's one policy that you cannot continuously text a student if they opt out of the program. But one kind of cheat sheet trick that you can do is that you have on your application, you have to opt out. So you automatically opt everybody in, and they have to unclick those the boxes. And if you put the boxes in the list of already checked boxes, they kind of skip over it. I didn't tell you that. But there are boundaries, but understand, put yourself in their shoes. They're 17, 18-year-olds. If you're working with transfer students, the average transfer age is about 23 to 24-year-old. What would you want to receive via text or social media, Twitter, Facebook, and how would you like that conversation to go? For my office, we will discuss any and everything up until the point of it being personal. Personal being the decision to either admit or not, also financial aid as well, but you can have that conversation up until a point where you would feel personally like, I don't want people to see that on my Facebook page, or I don't want my mom to know, or my dad to know that particular information. But what we found is that using those types of tools have increased the number of applications completed by 37%. So honestly, the trend of higher ed is moving towards those platforms to really help recruit students, but you have to still have your conversations because you can't do it all currently on social media, and I would not advise doing it all on social media. There are some colleges and universities who will tell the student via social media that they are either admitted or not. I just don't want to find out on social media, so I would not push that out to any other students that I'm recruiting because personally, I just wouldn't want that.
Mr. Cobb, how have your internships at Google related to your courses at UT? Are there any explicit connection between what you're learning in class and what you're doing at work?
It varies by the class. For some of the classes, it really does. Right now, I'm taking a software engineering class, so it's pretty much almost exactly like working at an internship and working at a company. You know, you do all this planning, you do all the organization and stuff. So sometimes these classes really do train you for the real world, but sometimes the classes are just about learning content. But that's not to say it's not useful, that's to say it's just different. You need to know this content in order to work, but it might not necessarily be, so tied, so strict for those types of classes.
And Marla, do you outreach to students that are not able to be involved socially on campus in leadership positions, if they're not able to be involved due to economic or other reasons?
So when I talked about being well-rounded, that includes the opportunity to work. I mean, some of the students that I've recruited, my hat's off to them. They tell me that I don't have any school debt. I paid for my way straight through school. And so that's not to say that just because you didn't participate in different organizations on campus that you're not well-rounded, because we do recognize that certain people may have work. I was one of them. I worked two or three jobs while I was in school. So you can still be developing those leadership skills or whatnot, having to work to put yourself through school as well.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask audience members if you have questions, if there was anybody that didn't want to submit one on Slido, or if you have comments or suggestions. We have microphones. If you make your way this way, and hopefully while someone is making their way this way, I will tell you a couple little stories for transparency's sake. Putting everything out on the table there. Miss Marla White at the end there. Marla and I were part of Leadership America together, so that is our connection. Mr. Falk and I worked together at Uplift Education when he was a Rhodes College counselor and I was chief of schools, I think. And this young man right here, well, he's my son. So he didn't have and also, Nicholas's dad is in the audience, Reggie Cobb, waving. Also, great, we have some questions or thoughts, or yes, ma'am.
This is a suggestion. I got the privilege of hearing Dave Evans. He teaches at Stanford, and he has a TED Talk, and it's on designing your life. And it's a class he teaches for students to kind of figure out what they want to be. He said it's a misnomer, a disservice to our kids that we say, follow your passion. We all have multiple passions, which one? And it goes from there.
Dave Evans, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I'm Tracy Kaufman. I'm an independent education consultant. I work with students with dyslexia, and they have a lot of extra needs, but so do lots of kids when they go to college. So it's a two-part question, one for Mr. Cobb and one for Mr. Falk. The first one is, it doesn't sound like you ever ran into any trouble in college, but if you did, how did you know who to ask, where to go to, what resources were available to you at UT? And for you, Mr. Falk, what do you do to communicate these resources to your students so that they know that they're available?
Well, for me, whenever I had issues, I would find a trusted professor or a counselor and, either meet them in person or email them, and generally I was able to resolve my problems So that's my advice personally. Talk to your teachers, professors, talk to your counselors, even talk to friends. Yeah.
And from the higher ed side, we actually work on having that, making sure that a prospective student knows what services are already on campus that they can work with, and it starts from the point of them applying all the way to the point that they actually graduate as well. And I took it a step further and recruited a counselor, and she has a specific, she doesn't call it disability, she calls it a quality. She has a special quality, and we actually recruit using that special quality that she has. And what it does is that it helps kind of relate to the family and the student that, wow, look at this. You may have the same quality that I have, and now I'm an admissions counselor. So for them, it breaks down that wall to say that you can still be successful. You can still do anything that you want to do. And she's able to make that relationship with that student. And it really has worked really well. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm the Career Access Manager at the Highland School District out in Seattle, Washington. So I wanted to do a resource share with the group, and then I also had a follow-up question from something that was said earlier. So one of the things that we do in our district to get high school students thinking about career exploration and college and career pathways is we actually have an exploratory program where, and also we are regionally or geographically positioned for success in that we've got Boeing, we've got Microsoft, there's a huge, there's a lot of opportunity out there. So my role is actually partnering with business leaders, organizations, and I'll actually ask them, we bring students to their site all the time, we do career exploration tours, and what my ask of the partner is to compile a panel from a number of different pathways. Our district is richly diverse. We have over 100 languages spoken in our district, so we're very intentional about who is connecting with our students. And similarly, we talk about the associated college pathways. So if you go to a 2-year and you can start out making 6 figures, if you go this route, so we just give them all of their options so that by the time they graduate, they at least know what they can pursue, because oftentimes we find that students don't actually know. We teach them doctor, lawyer, and so on, but they don't know how many really high demand, high wage careers are out there. So that's been very successful. And I also work on developing sort of informal internships as well at the high school level. Clear learning objectives. Anyway, I could go on and on. I'll stop there, but I just wanted to share that has been really, really great, and we get student feedback all the time, how this impacted, how are they thinking differently now about college and career, because I think one thing that stands out to me is this idea of access, right? If you don't grow up in a household, or if you don't have the support from educators, from community, you may not see yourself in those positions. So I think we have to be very intentional about how we are supporting those students as well. So the question I had was, Marla, what you were saying about that case study of curriculum. So I was curious, how an educator might approach a partner and make that ask. What would that look like? What would it entail? And what's reasonable given that everybody has a full-time job and may not have time for that?
What I have found in my role is that the people that, I can't do this job by myself because it's a global program. I got over 200 people on the program globally. And so in my organization, there's a lot of people that have a passion around this work. And so when we're at career fairs and professors come up to us and ask us to do this work, we're like, yeah, we'll do it, yeah. And so we just tend to make it happen. And so I think it's just as simple as having that conversation, because people love to talk about what they do and they love to share, especially if they have children or nieces of their own. They want to get out there in the community and share what they're doing at their companies and give that knowledge back to students. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Lisa Diaz. I'm a student affairs professional at UT Austin. I specifically work for our student activity centers, and our responsibility is to create and develop a getting up there for everyone that is intentional about teaching our students these soft skills that we talk about. So I was listening intently while we were talking about the soft skills, the gap we see as a recruiter, as an employer. One of the skills we talked about was students not really knowing how to navigate political landscape in the world. And I too think that's a really important skill. And so I was curious as to if you had any suggestions or insight as to how we could teach that.
Really good question. So I think again that a lot of it can come from, we actually recruit on your campus, by the way. So some of the things that I've seen different colleges have are business coaches. I'm like, whoa, when I went to my first campus when I got into this role, and I saw that the Student Services Office had business coaches assigned to their students, I said, wow, what a novel idea, because that's probably someone that has been in the corporate world and can help individuals with dealing with how do you handle dealing with senior leaders, or how do you present yourself in front of senior leaders and different things such as that. Even as simple as the schools that I've gone to that have had these type of business coaches, give them a handwritten note, not an email, not a Twitter, saying thank you for your time today. I'm like, whoa, I think those are the little extra things that help. And maybe even having some of us that as we come on your campus, go to your classrooms and talk about what does that look like, and how do you navigate that in the corporate world. And quite honestly, I think at UT we're doing some of those things.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks a lot for you all being here. My name is Chris Motley. I run a tech company called Better Weekdays that helps employers hire college students easier. So one of the things that stood out in the conversation was you mentioned the importance of collaboration. The young gentleman here, I can't remember your first name, but Kyle, I had it. You talked about speaking with your professors when you ran into a problem. So one thing that's interesting to me, and I wanted to get your thoughts, is how are the universities collaborating with professors in career services to students? Because it seems like a lot of conversations are happening, but not necessarily with the people who influence the student directly. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
From the higher ed side, we actually encourage professors to talk to students via email, phone, and Twitter as well. And so we made those intentional relationship happen sooner now. So from the point where a student says, I'm coming to your institution, we partner them up with a professor who can help them with all sorts of things, not only about what to expect when they get into college, but also how to dive out the book. And so what we're seeing is that that student will go to that professor always for any concern that may have.
So just one follow-up on this. How do you ensure that the professors are actually engaged? Because I've heard a lot when I do research in the space that the intent is to involve the professors in the process, especially when it relates to sort of the career transition. But it seems to be a lot of resistance from the folks that I've spoken with in the space. So how do you incentivize professors to take an active role in that engagement?
One of the things that we've done is, because I do believe that professors need to be involved in the conversation. They're the ones that have the interaction with the student day to day. So I want to go to the professor for the recommendation versus being at a career fair reading students, to be quite honest with you. So some of the things that we've done is actually invited the professors, especially for me in the accounting space, because a lot of times they gear them towards the Big Four, and it's like, wait a minute, industry has a lot of career opportunities for those students. So we've invited professors actually on site and show them what it's like to be in the different opportunities that are available to students in that field. And building the relationships with the professors. So when we're on campus, we're taking them to dinner, asking them what's going on in the classroom, can we come speak to the classroom?
And on the higher ed side, we've connected, working with the provost, is that a professor has to do a certain number of hours of service on campus. And so we give them the opportunity for one of their options is to work alongside us to be that source for that prospective student. And what we find is that you won't get all professors who, well, let's be honest, you don't want some professors talking to students. You just want them to teach, and that's very honest. But you also have some professors who are really great in making sure that student is supported, that student know that they can come to that professor with any concerns, and figuring out exactly who they are, and you focus on them and make sure that they know how to get in contact with students. Out of about 300 faculty members, I have about 35 who I can send an email to right now saying, hey, this student is super interested in Longwood, would you reach out? Within 24 hours, that professor has reached out to that particular student, and it's a beautiful connection.
Awesome. It's 12:02, so we're at the conclusion of our session. I really want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. We had a great time. I hope you did too. I hope there were a few nuggets that we shared or that your colleagues shared from the audience that'll help you in your journey as we move forward to continue to support students. We're going to step down and come down front. If there's anything that you want to ask any of us one-to-one, we'll be here, and we hope you enjoy the rest of South by Southwest. Thank you.